All right, gang. We just started June 9th and we finished the AM turn number 9 on June 9. Developments. Okay, so Julian pointed out to me that I wasn't, and he was completely accurate, I wasn't being precise and kind of jumping around. So I want to let's set the situation a little better. Let's see if I can't get a little better doing this. I get so excited to play this. This game has just really grabbed my attention. All right. So Commonwealth gets their landings on Gold, Juno, and Sword. And for the early parts, a majority of their landing or their force reinforcements in the landings are over here on Sword. 6th Airborne, they drop over here. And of course, everybody knows that their mission was Pegasus Bridge right there. Now, why is that important? So these two rivers here are considered major, and they go all the way up to Con. So the only way any unit can cross them is by bridges. So there's one there, and then there's Pegasus. And as you can see, the Germans were able to get in there and stop any crossing of the Pegasus Bridge. The Brits had it for a little while, but 21st Panzer, got down in there. And the intention was to trash the airborne before any crossings could be made. So they did get down in there, but they have not been able to do much damage since maybe their initial rush on the airborne stacks right here. And they still have a drop zone that they can resupply from. So as long as they all stay in a chain link right there, they're okay for now. So not much fighting. Now, one of the reasons why you don't see all these infantry units attacking is because of command points. Starting with turn, was it 7 or 5? I can't remember. But the Germans are only allowed 4 command points. Well, since 3 of the units on the board are Panzer or SS divisions, it takes 2 of their 4 command points to activate one of those. Well, that's the primary combat strength for the Germans, other than all these static infantry units that were here for coastal defense. So I'm burning 4 points on 2 of the 3 Panzer type divisions. I can't even get all 3 of them. And I don't believe, I will on the 11th of June, the Germans will get 6 command points for these 2 maps. They get 12, but you have to split them between A, B, C, and D together. Okay. All right, so situation. Some static infantry over here. Some of the 21st Panzer are still trying to deal with the airborne. I have pulled 12th SS Panzer. There were some units over here helping the 21st. There were some along the front line here out, north of Con. I have pulled them back to build a reserve so that I can react with some armor when I need to. Now I'm thinking they may end up scattering a little bit because the Brits are breaking out in the west, in the west over here. This last turn, I decided for the Commonwealth, they only get 3 command points. And all of their parent units cost 1 command point to activate. So I chose to activate the 3 infantry divisions on this side of the map. One of the victory objectives is to eliminate all of the strong points. They have to be eliminated. So there's 4 or 5, there's like 6 or 7 over here on this side of the coast. You try to get them cut off and out of supply, which should happen here shortly. And then during their supply phase, on the turn after they go out of supply, you start rolling on a dice to see if they sort of surrender. All the rest of them in the landing areas, you see there's none here. No coastal defenses here. There's only one left over here in the town of Oosterham, over near Sword Beach. And he had one beside him, that hole right there, but he surrendered this past turn. And then you got these guys over here, which, well, you would hope that the Brits will be able to get after them before long. The Para can't do it because I can't waste the command point on them. I did that on one turn, and it hurt me on the push over to the east. So, or to the west. This thing's upside down. Or to the, yeah, to over here to the west. Okay. All right. So, British infantry and a lot of their commando units in here, they have not been activated. So they can move, but they cannot. They cannot activate, so they're not going to do any combat. And if they're not active, any of their inherent artillery that belongs to their particular parent unit, they cannot fire because they have to be spotted for by one of their banded units. So like you see that 412 right there, he can only fire if one of his other, that big white band, if one of his other units with the big white band is activated and can spot. And usually that means adjacent to an enemy, or if they're on a hill, you can see like 6 hexes is what they say. Some more of the commando here in the red. So this whole side right here has pretty much not been activated. And not quite sure yet when I'm going to. Reason being is because I'm having so much success. Well, yeah, I have to say so much success in the West. So I activated Canadian infantry the last turn. And then this turn here was just movement and making sure that I cut off all these German units back here in these pockets. And hopefully they'll supply themselves out and surrender. I shifted all the independent British artillery over here to the west to support the 50th Infantry Division and the 51st, which are those blue units, which are completely untouched. They're moving into the fight now. The Germans have shifted Lear Panzer and as much of the 12th SS as they can over in this direction. So what I'm hoping to do with the 12th SS and Lear, if I can pull it off, is to block off this little area here and then use that river as a defense, if need be, depending on what the Commonwealth does. The only armor the Commonwealth has other than independent is 7th Armored Division. And they've still got a boatload of tanks to come on. I haven't looked at the reinforcement schedule to see. All right, so I'm starting to break down units. Well, instead of having stacks of 3 or stacks of 2 with weak strength, I'm starting to pull some of the artillery, like the infantry guns, pulling them forward, putting them into the line with like mech infantry or even armored units to put some strength in there. Trying to keep them in the bocage because they get a shift of 1 during combat. So you can see there's Caen, where a lot of the 12th SS is sort of recovering. Not that they're going to gain any strength back, but they're there to react. So we're keeping a defense line out in front, and should the Commonwealth break through, there's a force there that can respond. The remainder of, so a lot of this is Panzer-Lehr right here. And they're coming over to this river and then up this river line where they sort of mix it up with 12th SS a little bit and then down that river line. Now I do got a few units out here. We made an attack right here, was successful to sort of thwart 51st Infantry's or 50th Infantry's movement. Got a bunch of it right there. But like I say, until you get enough command points where you can get 4 commands going or eventually 6, it's kind of tough. You got to make a decision at the beginning of the turn, and then that's what you're stuck with. So I keep flip-flopping back and forth. But I think for now, the 3 infantry divisions over here are the best answer because you've got to clear out all these strong points. That has to be done. That's, like I say, that's part of the victory conditions. Another part of the victory conditions is to get an entire battalion and its mortar piece. So that's usually 4 infantry companies and an indirect fire company off one of these reinforcement hexes, literally move them off the map and close down that entry hex. And it has to remain in supply for the Commonwealth. So, if you were to close that one off at the end of the game, you'd have to be able to trace the supply to that from that point back to the beachheads. Okay? We're not there yet. We're not even actually closing on Con yet. Panzer Lehr and the 12th SS are very, very tough units. 12th SS has 4 Tiger companies. We're going to assume they're 4 Tigers. It doesn't say that, but they're like 9 strength units. One of them has been hurt. And you see a lot of them reduced. And I learned something here that the last turn we had 13 airstrikes for the Brits, for the Commonwealth. And then you have these artillery pieces that have the same power as the aircraft. And just in the open, just good die rolls for the airstrikes and for any maybe naval fire or this heavy artillery fire just decimated these guys. But I've learned something now. The aircraft can fly in there and don't need spotters. And, well, depending on the weather. And the BBs for the Navy and the CAs, they don't need spotters for anything that's within range because they're considered to have aerial spotters. You don't have like reconnaissance planes in this game. You only have airstrikes. But they're considered to have aerial spotters spotting the targets. Not to mention any ground unit that can spot. So, all right, so like I say, not much action in the middle. It's just a game of movement. You can see that 12th Panzer or 21st Panzer and Panzer Lehr kind of setting up somewhat of a screening wall in there to hopefully contain any center breakout. I can't let them have Con. That's a key to this kit because it's like a victory point treasure trove in there. And then what I can extract from 12th SS and Lehr to go out here. And, there's not a lot of victory points out here, but they can get off that edge hex down there, off of those reinforcement areas. And that would take care of that victory condition. And then they would just need victory points. Now, one of the other things that the Germans can do is keep these strong points alive. All right? Eventually, these guns are just going to start hammering these things. And I don't think any of them are in cities. No, they're not. So they'll eventually get destroyed sitting there. So I can't count on that. Somewhere along the line, the Germans are going to start pushing back. They're trying to in pieces, but they still don't have enough force on the board to fight all of this these Commonwealth troops. And they're starting to move. So it's kind of a, hit them here, back away, defend, until they can get a mass force in here to strike. And they've got some good mass reinforcements coming on over the next, the next turn they will. Turn 10. And I think it's 10 or 11, I can't tell. But they got a big bulk coming in with a bunch of armor and infantry. And then later in the game, they get a bunch more. So I don't know. We'll see. We'll see if if the Commonwealth forces can stay strong enough, if they can get the rest of 7th Armored on the map. We'll see how that goes. Weather's another key thing here. You only have 3 forms of weather. You have heavy, moderate, and light overcast. And if you have light overcast, the Commonwealth gets to roll 3 dice to determine how many airstrikes they get. For moderate, it's 2, and for heavy, it's 1. So, and I have had the heavy for 1 turn, and I think I got 3 airstrikes. All right, so they're going to try to clean up over here in the west with the 50th Infantry Division and, who's the green guys? 51st, or 56. So 50 and 56 are going to try to clean this up. And the major part of the 50th and the 51st are going to continue to push on this western flank. All right, so that's how we've progressed. I hope that's a better explanation. If you're not getting a good picture, if I'm missing something, tell me. Believe me, I appreciate it because it doesn't do me any good to not do it right. So let me know if you need me to explain something else, or there's a rule you want to ask a question about. I'll be more than happy to. I'm starting to become very, very more familiar with the, SCS is one thing, but then the scenario rules for each particular game, I'm starting to become stronger with this one. It's becoming more fluid as I play each turn. All right, so you know the deal. Hey, give it a thumbs up if you like it. Subscribe and hit that bell if you want to keep up to date. Let's get this thing posted so y'all can see what's going on. Talk to you soon.